on continuation with the previous chapter, there are several bonds or several chemical bonds responsible for the antigen-antibody reaction. So if one molecule is get interacted with other molecules, they need some of the binding bond or binding force to get attached with one another. So here there are mainly 4 bonds which is involved for the responsible of antigen-antibody reaction. One is electrostatic bonds, and second one is hydrogen bonding. Third one hydrophobic interactions, and fourth one is van der Waals bond. So coming to the types of antigen-antibody reactions. So by these types we'll able to recognize the antigen and antibody get interacted with each other. So first one is agglutination, precipitation, complement fixation, and ELISA technique, enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay technique, which is mainly for the diagnosis of HIV, and radioimmunoassay, and last one is Western blotting. So coming to the agglutination. So in agglutination process, the interaction between the antibody and the particular antigen results in visible clumping factor, and it is visually it is seen as a clumping, which is called as agglutination, and the antibodies that produce such reactions is called agglutinins, and the better agglutination takes place with IgM antibody than with IgG antibody. So we have seen IgM plays a role in the agglutination reaction. When a particular antigen is mixed with particular antibodies in the presence of electrolytes at suitable temperature or pH, that particles are clumped or agglutinated to one another, and the antibody of serum which causes the cellular antigens to form the clump, and these are called as agglutinins, and the particular antigens that are aggregated are termed agglutinogens. So coming to the types of agglutination, one is slide agglutination and another one is tube agglutination. Slide agglutination is mainly for identification of blood group, that is serotyping blood group test, and tube agglutination is mainly for Widal test, and this Widal test is most commonly performed for the diagnosis of Salmonella disease. So slide agglutination is a rapid method to determine the presence of agglutinating antibodies. As I said before, this is used for blood grouping or heme agglutination or cross matching, and tube agglutination is mainly for the diagnosis of typhoid fever, and typhoid fever has a causative agent for Salmonella typhi, brucellosis, and typhus fever. And coming to the application, cross matching and blood grouping and the identification of bacteria, examples of Vibrio cholerae, Salmonella typhi, and Salmonella paratyphi, and it is having the applications in the serological diagnosis of various diseases. So coming to the precipitation reaction, when the soluble antigen combines with antibody in the presence of electrolyte or the particular temperature and pH, it forms the insoluble precipitate of antigen-antibody reaction. So this insoluble antigen-antibody complex is called as precipitation, and thus reaction is called precipitation reaction, and the antibody which causing the precipitation is called precipitin. So antibodies and antigens reacts one another to form antigen-antibody complex which is insoluble in nature, and precipitation is having the application in the detection of unknown antibody to diagnose the infection and to standardize the toxins and antitoxins and to identify the bacteria and its components. So these are all the major applications which is involved in the precipitation reaction. And coming to the schematic diagrammatic representation or pictorial representation, you may find out the agglutination process, that is visually have seen like clump like structures. So while doing the blood grouping test, when the antigen is interacted with the anti-B reagent, the clumping will form. So it indicates the type of blood group. So if suppose A positive, in the sense the clumping will occur in A and D, And this is the precipitation reaction, wherein it is also visible the insoluble antigen antibody complex. So you may differentiate agglutination and precipitation in the given diagram.